Hey guys, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here, and today we have to talk about Russian disinformation campaigns in light of the 2020 US election, because some new developments just came out today from Facebook and also Twitter that I think are really interesting and need to be discussed and have some light shed on them. Now, Facebook said today that it had removed more than a dozen fake accounts and pages linked to Russia's Internet Research Agency. If you recall, this is the group that worked in 2016 to basically sow discord through that presidential election. And this obviously is another sign that Russia is once again working to interfere with the electoral process. Now, 13 accounts and 2 pages were removed after Facebook received a tip from the FBI that they were basically tied to the Internet Research Agency. Obviously, this group has been active since 2016 on every major social media platform. It has targeted voters both before and after the presidential election, according to intelligence reports, also some recently released by the Senate Intelligence, which was led by Republican Marco Rubio. Basically said that the Internet Research Agency was trying to bolster, Trump and all of that, but they had been far quieter since about 2018. After that election cycle, and here they are starting to ramp up. Now, these accounts were basically meant to look like a progressive news company, and they were taken down before they were able to amass a large audience. But according to the New York Times, they noted that this is the first public evidence that Russia is trying to basically re-up its accomplishments from 4 years ago in that sense. Now, the Russian operatives who were working to direct social media users to a fake news site called Peace Data or peacedata.net. You can go there right now, and I'm actually going to read some of their response here. Basically, they are saying that this was made to look like a left-leaning news site, and they went so far as to hire freelance journalists from the United States and other places to actually write for this website. So it's not just Russians trying to, cram American-based English into articles here targeting Americans. They actually hired American freelance journalists. The New York Times also notes that the group advertised for writers on online job boards as well. So, by virtue of that, social media analytics firm Graphica worked with Facebook to release a report about this fake news network and said that Peace Data was crafted to target mainly progressive and left-wing groups in the United States and the United Kingdom as well, and share a quote-unquote wholly negative portrayal of key electoral issues. Twitter, interestingly enough, also said today that it had removed 5 accounts and would block any content affiliated with this disinformation effort. And to quote Nathaniel Glecker, he is the head of cybersecurity policy for Facebook, and I quote, "Russian actors are trying harder and harder to hide who they are and being more and more deceptive to conceal their operations. But there was very little attention paid to this operation." Now, I went to peacedata.net's website, obviously putting it through a sandboxed browser just to make sure I didn't get infected. There were no infections that I could easily detect or see there. And they have a long response to this on their own, from their own editorial board. At least that's what they purport. And I'm going to quote some of this because I think it's absolutely interesting. And to quote Peace Data in their response, Facebook Facebook baselessly accused us of working with Russia. Moreover, we were called the Russian trolls. Nathaniel Glecker, who heads Facebook's cybersecurity policy, stated that the decision to remove our accounts was based on a tip from the FBI. What's happening here exactly? Facebook just follows an FBI lead and blocks all accounts of an independent media resource and tops it with declaring its creators Russian trolls. These actions taken by Facebook is the perfect tool to suppress any unpopular opinion, to badmouth a website that hosts content displeasing the Facebook board. We're assured that Peace Data became a victim of a collaborated provocative effort from Facebook and FBI, who want to shut up independent left-wing voices prior to the presidential elections and to disguise it with the fight against made-up Russian threat. And basically they're saying it's a smear campaign, and they go on from there. That doesn't seem to flow rather well. A lot of the notes that I've been talking openly and freely here were written by an American writer, from an American source. And so this seems and sounds a little different. And this is actually a very smart tactic, because assume for a moment that we are looking at this, and Facebook has been notoriously anti-censorship on either side of this. Studies have shown that. So for them to simply cut off a left-wing group or a left-wing organization or a left-wing progressive news site or whatever you want to call it, like Peace Data, without any real cause would be fascinating, would be very interesting. And if that's the case, then why wouldn't, let's say, the FBI, if they were being used, let's say, as the political arm, in this election, why wouldn't they be cutting off larger, more prolific sources as opposed to this one? I think there's a lot here that you can unpack, and I'm not getting into the politics of this. Again, my job is agnostic to politics, so I don't care who you vote for, but this looks like it's dedicated and controlled, and it's sophisticated. If they are actually spending the money to hire people basically under the guise of, hey, we're a left-leaning site, you're a left-leaning writer, and you're a freelance, we'll pay you for news, for articles and all of that, I'd be curious to know what that process is. Were they actually going to people and saying, hey, we have this information, please put it out in an article, and that person, let's say that freelance writer who's getting paid, wasn't actually validating that information was correct or not. Maybe it's false information on Joe Biden or something like that, who obviously is a Democratic candidate, or maybe it's false information on Donald Trump, the president. We don't know. And so I would be very curious to see what's going on here. But heads up, if you are seeing anything on Peace Data, I would at least be leery until more facts come out. And I would love to see more details and understanding of exactly how the FBI and other intelligence agencies came to this conclusion. But this is typically something that they wouldn't do lightly, because this is potentially trampling on a constitutional right, which means that odds are something like this wasn't on the legit. It wasn't on the up and up. So I'd be curious to hear your thoughts. But that is your news of the day, because the Internet Research Agency is back, and now we have our first public hit that we have found. It's going to be an interesting election. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP. And please feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. And as always, stay safe and stay online. Thanks, guys.